Okay, first I'm going to tell you the reason why I do what I do. The two gentlemen that you see on the screen are my two sons, and I have lost both of them to gun violence. The first on the far, my right, y'all left, his name is Isaac. Isaac was an Iraqi veteran. He served in the Iraqi war. He was stationed near the Turkish border in Iraq. Isaac survived Iraq to come home, was living in Colombia, and he was murdered at his apartment by, there was a friend of his who was having problems with a boyfriend, called for help. And my son and another friend went and got her and her children. The boyfriend came by about 2 hours later to my son's apartment, and he basically shot up the place. My son was murdered. My nephew is a paraplegic, and Curtis, the fellow who killed my son, is in prison for 35 years. So that was a hard period in my life. But afterwards, what I did, I wrote a book, and I'll share it with you. And it's entitled, Anything Can Happen. And this story tells about this period of time in my life, because right before Isaac died, my husband was killed in a car accident. 5 months before that, my mom died, and a year before that, my dad died. So it had been a sequence of events that had me in a pretty low place. So I wrote this book, Anything Can Happen, because I realized anything can happen in life. What got me when Isaac died, I am a retired principal. I taught for 9 years in Berkeley County. I was an assistant principal in Berkeley County, and then I got the job of a lifetime. I got a principalship in Orangeburg County, in Utahville, and I was there for 16 years. And so during that time, what I did, I wrote the book, and I joined 2 organizations for support. I joined Bereaved Parents of the United States, and I also became a member of the Parents of Murdered Children, which is a national organization. So I began, between being in the role of a principal, I began traveling across the country, basically, and doing workshops for these organizations. And I was just giving it my all. I also started going into the prisons and talking to their impact of victims program, talking to inmates about what the impact of their crime has on victims. So I was just really doing it. I remarried in 2013, moved here, although I was still working in Orangeburg County, but anyway, I moved to Orangeburg. And in 2014, I retired from the school system, and I said, okay, this is something that I can do full time now. I can devote to my organization. And then in 2016, 9 years, 3 months, and 11 days later, for those of you who know Facebook, you got Messenger on your phone, right? I heard about 9:30 that night, my Messenger went off. And I picked up my phone and I looked at it, and one of my youngest son, had moved to Orlando, Florida. He was going to college there. He had taken the semester off and he was working. And when I read the Messenger, it said, Carlton has been shot. And now I'm here in Orangeburg, and this is Orlando, Florida. And so I mentioned to my husband, I said, the girl's name, his friend, texted me and said he'd been shot. So I called, and that's when she told me not only had he been shot, but he was dead. And at this point, it was a downward spiral for me, because it had not only happened to me once, but it was twice. And I felt that I had served the community with everything that I have. And Utahville was my home. I served that community 150%. And not only once, but twice. And what I questioned was, I was able to do so much for the community. When I was in Goose Creek as an assistant principal, when I was in Cross as a teacher, and for 16 years in Orangeburg County. And I was burying both of my sons. When I lost Carlton, it basically took me into a downward spiral. I mean, a deep, dark place. I got up every day and I functioned, I did what I needed to do, but inside I was slowly dying.